Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to October 27th, 2020. In this video, White House Communications Director Alyssah Farah told Fox and Friends this morning that the White House is confident that it will be able to cut a deal for the next disaster relief package within the next few weeks. Not week, but the plural form of the word week. Weeks. Practically making it official that passing a stimulus bill before the elections, which may include another round of stimulus checks, enhanced unemployment insurance payments of anywhere from $400 to $600 a week, another round of economic injury disaster loan grants for all legitimate small business applicants, will not happen before Election Day. President Donald Trump went on Twitter accusing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of wanting to bail out blue cities, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi went on MSNBC yesterday accusing the Trump administration of refusing to crush the virus with the next disaster relief package, and Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi stated that the economic recovery will be very weak and the country will suffer due to the lack of fiscal support coming from Congress. So, White House Communications Director Alyssah Farah told Fox and Friends this morning that the White House is confident that it will cut a deal for the next disaster relief package within the next few weeks. Not week, practically making it official that passing a stimulus bill before Election Day will not happen.
Alyssah, we do see the cases surging across the country, but around the world as well. In Wisconsin especially, we see a lot of concern over in Utah, and we see places like El Paso, Texas. But let's look at the big picture, and that is the stimulus that most agree that we need, even though we're in deficit spending, needs something done. Now that this is passed, has there been conversation with the President, Mitch McConnell, and others about getting some type of stimulus program or rescue plan this week?
So the president has been in touch with Hill leadership, and Secretary Mnuchin spoke with Speaker Pelosi yesterday. We're confident that we can get something in the coming weeks. There's still some debate, with the Democrats over whether it's state and local bailouts or just getting the direct funding to Americans. But make no mistake, this president is committed to getting help.
Not this week.
We're hoping within weeks. I don't want to get too ahead of any announcements.
President Donald Trump wrote the following on Twitter this morning. Big GDP projected. Pelosi only looking to bail out badly run Democrat cities. Tap, tap, taping us along. She has little interest in helping out the people. House Speaker Patricia Pelosi accused the administration of saying no to crushing the virus with the next disaster relief package. Well, I think, first let me say, Chris, thank you for your focus on every aspect of what is happening here, from the virus and its connection to this, taking up this confirmation instead of taking up legislation to crush the virus. This is a very sad day for our country. Within the past 24 hours, we've seen the President of the United States in his delusional state. We've rounded the curve on this. We've rounded the turn. We haven't. We've heard his chief of staff tell us, eyes wide open, as you said, this is a decision. They do not intend to control the virus. Over 8 million people infected, getting close to 250,000 people who have died, and now we know they never intended. It wasn't just ineptitude. It wasn't just politics. It wasn't their defiance of science. It was a decision not to crush the virus. And what that means for the education of our children, the economy of our country and the rest, and what do they do but rush the Supreme Court nomination through, which has an impact on the health and well-being of the American people. Then she goes on to speak on there's only 8 days until the elections, and then Chris Hayes veers the conversation back to negotiations for the next disaster relief package by saying the following. You just mentioned the virus relief and this sort of testing gap, and I want to state to you how I understand the state of things, okay? Which can feel a little bit like a dark comedy or an absurdist play, like Waiting for Godot, where we're constantly talking about they're making progress, and they're making progress. But my understanding is that the problem isn't the top line number, which can be negotiated, the size of the package. Minor problem is that there are huge differences substantively between what you want to see out of the package in terms of what it commits the White House to do on testing and suppressing the virus and what they are willing to do. And it seems to me that if your position and the Democrats' position is we should suppress and contain the virus, and the White House's position is no, we should not. That is not a negotiable. There is no negotiating to be done there. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi responded by saying the following. That's right. That's exactly right. And thank you for putting it that way. And you may recall about 10 days ago, they finally said, okay, we'll go along with the testing plan. we're just going to make a light touch on the language. And as you recall, as per yesterday's video where I played the tape with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin told CNBC that the administration would be willing to accept the $75 billion that Democrats were demanding for contact tracing and testing. And the administration is willing to pony up $178 billion for healthcare provisions in the next stimulus bill. And they were also taking that $28 billion Democrats want for the ethical and equitable distribution of the vaccine. However, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin did state that right now they were just discussing the specifics on the language and that they would go back to Democrats with some minor edits. However, now House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and reportedly Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and the administration struck as much as 55% of the language for these healthcare provisions in the next disaster relief package. The light touch was taking out 55% of the language, changing must. We are saying you shall. The administration shall do this. They shall. The administration may do this. Requirements became recommendations and the like, so that the money would be just, again, a slush fund for the president so that he may do this or may do that rather than requiring it. But we thought, okay, this is just a power play. And they made a fuss. They came back and said, all right, we're there with you. But they still have not come back. And that's what we asked for today. We said we can get something done before the election, at least an agreement, if not a law, if you admit that we must crush the virus. People are dying, people are sick. So again, affirming and practically making it official that passing the next stimulus bill or even making a deal for the next stimulus bill is practically not going to happen before Election Day. So this is coming from both sides now. And I'm glad that she wrote that they wanted to change the language by instead of saying may, the administration shall, because that is the same game that Democrat Senator representing the state of Maryland, Ben Cardin, ranking member of the U.S. Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship, together with Chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, did when engineering the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Grant Program. They included the word may. They said small business concerns or anything that constitutes a small business may request that the administrator provide a grant of up to $10,000 within 3 days' time. They never included the word shall, never directed the word shall, that the administrator shall disperse $10,000 within 3 days' time. So I'm glad they did that. So you could see that both Democrats, Ben Cardin is a Democrat, Senator Rubio is a Republican. They both work together to give the Small Business Administration the discretion to disperse $1,000 per employee, $50 per employee, a pumpkin pie slice per employee. They could have given you anything they wanted. They could have said, we're not giving out anything because we don't have enough money to do so. And they would have taken that money for themselves and passed it off to RER Solutions and the Virginia-based government contractor, Quicken Loans, who pushed off the work to that the Small Business Administration contracted RER Solutions to do in order to disperse economic injury disaster loan grants. So they didn't include the word shall. So you could see, forget about political affiliations unless you are a Republican senator and you're running for office, or you're running for the House of Representatives, or you're running for President of the United States. We're not affiliated with these parties. They don't care about any of us, ladies and gentlemen, because that's a clear example of how both Democrats and Republicans collaborated in blocking access to much-needed $10,000 economic injury disaster loan grants that legitimate small businesses could have used so they can weather this pandemic, save their businesses, keep their employees on payroll so they can save and feed their own families to ultimately save this country. Then, Chris Hayes goes on to speak on how House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has a lot of experience in dealing with negotiations and cutting deals for legislation. But Madam Speaker, obviously you know the state of this better than I do. You're a party to this. You have negotiated so many deals in your life. I have to say, I feel like I've been insane. I'm watching this. There's no deal happening. Like, that's exactly right, according to Speaker Pelosi. Chris Hayes, okay, thank you. Speaker Pelosi, you're right. I feel like there's a constant. You know, I'm like the donkey with the carrot in front of me. It's not happening, right? Well, that's when people said accept the deal, according to Speaker Pelosi. And I was like, what deal? They haven't agreed to any of this. Then Chris Hayes said, right, but I mean, that's what I mean though. But like this idea, I mean, I guess you're still talking, but it just seems to me like the reality here is that there is incommensurable difference between how the Democratic caucus approaches the virus and its suppression in the White House that cannot be papered over in legislative language. Then, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi responds by saying the following. Well, it could. I mean, again, public sentiment is everything. The public weighing in. Now, again, this was big with Mark Meadows saying we didn't intend to control this. So that gave us much more leverage. But the fact is we have to control the virus. We have to control the virus. But in addition to that, we cannot sell our souls. I know, just say, okay, well, let's just do this. Whatever way they want to do it, we'll do it again. No. We've got to crush the virus. We've got to have our children safely in schools. We've got to insist that as people are going into poverty, we are asking them for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, all these things that take people out of poverty. They're insisting on keeping their big tax cut, $150 billion for the wealthiest people in the country. So all the frustration that we have about the courts and the this or that is very well founded. We do not have shared values, but we hope that some pragmatism might set in on them, that the public would demand that they crush the virus. Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi echoed Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's sentiments.
The expansion is still far from complete. At this early stage, I would argue that the risks of policy intervention are still asymmetric. Too little support would lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses. Over time, household insolvencies and business bankruptcies would rise, harming the productive capacity of the economy and holding back wage growth.
Contending that the economy will suffer without any fiscal support coming out of Congress and the administration.
In terms of jobs, we're only about halfway back to what we lost during the start of the pandemic. So, we're making our way back. That's great news, but we've got a long way to go. And the other concern, as you point out, is that the economy is now feeling very soft because the pandemic is intensifying. It doesn't look like Congress and the administration are going to get it together and pass another fiscal rescue package anytime soon. And that means that in the next few months, the prospects for the economy actually backtracking are pretty high.
Let me know what you think. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Watch this video right here for more stimulus coverage. Click the like button if you like the video. Click the subscribe button and click the bell notification to stay on top of my findings when I upload them. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America and everybody else on this planet. Talk soon.